All right. Hi, friends. Welcome to today's Flipgrid Live Event. I'm Apurva with Team Flipgrid, and today we're starting our celebration of Earth Day a few days early in partnership with the Redwood National and State Parks. Before we get started, let me just say that if you don't know what Flipgrid is, it's a free video discussion platform from Microsoft, and we're on a mission to empower everyone on the planet to share their voice and respect the diverse voices of others. That's why we're so excited about today's event. Allie, Greg, and Kyle, three park interpreters, will teach us how climate change is impacting redwoods and how these trees hold promise for a brighter future. So let's toss things over to Allie, who is joining us live from Redwood National and State Parks.
Hi, everybody. My name is Allie.
Hi, everybody in Flipgrid World. I'm Ranger Greg.
Hello, everybody. My name's Kyle.
We are coming to you live from Redwood National and State Parks, and I got to get my big old globe out here so I can show you exactly where we're coming from. So we are located in California. There's North America here, specifically up here in Northern California, almost in Oregon. Has anybody been to Redwood National and State Parks? If you're ever here, come and say hello. So we are known for our coastlines, our prairies, and of course, our giant old growth redwood trees. Now, old growth redwoods are amazing trees. They are right behind us here, and they are absolutely huge. They are the tallest trees in the entire world, and they can grow to be 10, 15, even 20 feet in diameter or width. Now, back in the day, we had old growth redwoods all over the coast of Northern California. But because of logging in the last century, we're only down to about 5%. So we are very lucky to protect over 150,000 old growth redwood trees here in our state and national parks. Now, redwoods are so much more than the tallest trees. They've been on the earth for over 135 million years. They are bug resistant, fire resistant, disease resistant. They share nutrients through their roots. They're really, really amazing. And we could probably do an entire Flipgrid Live event just on how cool redwoods are. But today we're going to be talking about climate change. So I'm going to turn it over to Ranger Kyle, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what redwoods are made of. And then Ranger Greg is going to connect that back to climate change.
Thanks, Allie. So let's think about these really, really amazing trees. Redwoods, they're pretty spectacular, but these trees are not too different from just about any plant that you might be able to find in your backyard or in your own town, maybe in your local park. So let's think real quick. There are 4 things that plants need to grow. 4 things. If we were to have a baby redwood, a tiny little seed, we were going to plant it and get that seed to grow. What are those 4 things that that seed is going to need to be able to grow? I'm going to let y'all think about it for just a moment. If you've got anybody joining with you, maybe talk with them for just a moment and see if you can figure out what 4 things I'm talking about. 4 things that plants need to be able to grow. If you said things like water, you'd be correct. If you said something like carbon dioxide, which we get out of the air, you'd also be correct. Water, air. We got 2 more. If you said something like soil, where plants can get a lot of their food nutrients from the soil, you'd also be correct. And the 4th and final one, sunlight. We need the energy from the sun to be able to grow any plant, but the redwoods as well. So we've got water, we've got carbon dioxide from the air, we've got soil, and we've got sunlight. Those are the 4 things that any plant is going to need to grow, but these redwoods as well. Of these 4 things, soil, sunlight, water, and air, what do you think makes these trees? What are they built out of? What material is putting them together that makes them so absolutely massive? Is it water? Is it sunlight? Is it soil? Or is it from the air? Of those 4 things, what do you think makes the mass of these redwood trees? What are they actually built out of? Give you just a moment to put your guesses in. Make a bet with whoever's sitting there next to you. If you guessed the air, you would be correct. These redwood trees, what builds up most of their mass is carbon dioxide, or CO2. That's what these redwood trees get out of the air. One of the really important things that they're built out of, what their actual building block is. At least 50% of a redwood is entirely carbon. That's a whole lot of tree. That's at least 100 tons of carbon. Redwood trees weighing somewhere around 200 tons. Now, probably a lot of us don't really know what a ton is, so we've got a couple of different ones you can compare it to. An adult moose weighs about a ton. A baby humpback whale weighs about a ton. A adult rhinoceros weighs about a ton. So imagine, take your pick, 100 rhinoceroses, mooses, or baby humpback whales. That is how much carbon is trapped in a single redwood tree. They're using that to grow throughout their entire life, up to about 3,000 years. They're pulling in that carbon and growing to become the tallest trees in the entire world. So what happens when a redwood tree falls down? What happens to that carbon? As things fall down and start to break down and decay over time, a lot of time those nutrients that are absorbed or the things that is built out of are slowly being released back out. So when a redwood tree falls down, as it breaks down, it slowly is releasing that carbon. Now, you might think that carbon is probably going to go back into the atmosphere, but redwood trees and a lot of different plants do something really, really cool. We call it a nurse log. So this is a fallen redwood tree, and you can see all of these plants and even this other tree that's growing right off of it. So as this redwood is breaking down and slowly releasing those nutrients, all of the carbon dioxide that it's taken in over the time, all of the food and the nutrients it's gotten from the soil, all of those are slowly being released back into the environment, and all of those trees, those plants that are growing right off of this log, are reabsorbing all of those nutrients. So this log is feeding all of these plants that are growing right off of it. So all this stuff is recycled right back into the environment and not released back into our atmosphere. So I know, Allie, so we'll talk a little bit about how these redwood trees grow. I talked a lot about this thing, carbon. But what is carbon? Where does it come from? Does it benefit us? Is it a bad thing? Well, Greg is going to come in here to answer all of those burning questions you may have. Take it away, Greg.
Thanks, Kyle. Boy, could you imagine standing next to a tree that's 100 tons of carbon? Well, I want you to think about how every living thing on the planet has some carbon in it, including you. Carbon is a building block of life. 20% of every human is carbon. It's in our tissues, it's in our bones, it's in our hair, it's in our skin. Carbon is natural, and it's been a part of the Earth's environment since time began. Now, if a plant dies or an animal dies, sometimes that plant or animal decomposes, or sometimes it kind of builds up with a lot of other plants and animals. Sometimes millions of tiny little plants and animals kind of get squished together, and over millions of years, they become something called a fossil fuel, like coal or oil or natural gas. And you've probably heard about fossil fuels, and fossil fuels are full of carbon. This is a little picture of a carbon molecule that has been joined by two oxygen molecules. And when carbon is released, when we burn carbon, when we drive a car, or when we release carbon in a factory, that carbon molecule goes into the atmosphere, the Earth's skinny little atmosphere, skinny little atmosphere. On this globe, it would only be about the thickness of a tissue paper. The Earth's atmosphere starts to get full of carbon, and those oxygen molecules join together, and they kind of make carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, and it's kind of like an insulating, warm, snuggly blanket for the planet. Now, carbon dioxide is important. Greenhouse gases in balance are very, very important for life. There are some planets in the solar system that have too many greenhouse gases, and one of those planets is Venus, and it's so hot in Venus, lead would melt. Well, here on planet Earth, we've got a nice balance. We have had just the right amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Now, maybe we have a planet in the atmosphere, a planet in the solar system that has too little greenhouse gases. That planet would be way too cold for survival, and that could be Mars. So we're lucky on planet Earth. We've had this nice balance between carbon dioxide and nice warm temperatures, not too hot, not too cold. And you know what? Humans have gotten pretty used to these temperatures. One of the things that we are discovering with the climate crisis is that there is more carbon dioxide going into the atmosphere than the Earth is absorbing. It's out of balance. Now, how does the Earth absorb carbon dioxide? Kyle has talked about it. Plants absorb carbon dioxide to build their plant material. Oceans absorb carbon dioxide. Soil absorbs carbon dioxide. And scientists have found out exactly how much carbon dioxide the Earth absorbs in a year. And scientists have also identified how much carbon dioxide is going into the atmosphere each year. What are some ways that carbon dioxide can go into the atmosphere? Maybe have a discussion with your class at the moment. Volcanoes, that's one way carbon dioxide gets into the atmosphere. Another way carbon gets into the atmosphere is in forest fires, and California has those. But the main way that carbon dioxide is getting into the atmosphere is now that humans are burning fossil fuels. And I want to kind of demonstrate a really simple little math problem. It involves how much carbon is going into the atmosphere. How much? This is Kyle is holding how much carbon the planet is absorbing, and he has a container full of little glass beads. Maybe you can see that. Tiny, tiny little thing. Okay, so one of these glass beads represents, for this demonstration, 100 million tons. Well, well, I must be pretty strong. I'm lifting up 100 million tons, but you put 6 to 7 billion tons together, that's how much carbon the Earth is absorbing. Now just listen to how it sounds. This is how much carbon the Earth is sequestering in a year. Oh, that's what science tells us the Earth is absorbing each year. And Ellie is now showing how much carbon has been released each year into the atmosphere from forest fires, from volcanoes, and from humans using fossil fuels. So just kind of listen to this difference. This is the carbon coming from volcanoes. That's it. Here's the carbon coming from forest fires. That's it. Here's the carbon dioxide coming from burning fossil fuels. Well, that almost gave me a headache. And you can see the two containers. This container has more beads than that. So can you students do some quick math and tell us what's the difference between 10 billion being released and 6 to 7 billion being absorbed? Your math teachers are proud if you came up with 3 to 4 billion, because that is the fundamental, that's the cause of the climate crisis. Is there's more carbon dioxide going to the atmosphere each year, and that starts building up. So that's a little bit about carbon in the atmosphere, and we're going to bring it back now to the Redwoods, and I'm throwing this back to Ellie.
Hello again. So what does that mean for redwoods? Now, Ranger Kyle already mentioned that these trees need carbon to grow. So if there's more carbon in the atmosphere, what do you guys think that means for trees? You're exactly right. It means that they're growing more. So if you ever get to see a tree cookie like this one, you'll see these little rings. Now each ring is 1 year of growth. Now usually we see really big rings towards the center or the first years of life, and then it starts to get smaller as it gets older. And that's really what we see in the redwoods. But what studies are noticing is it's starting to get thicker again as the trees pack on the pounds, as they consume all of that extra carbon that's in the atmosphere. Now, that's really good for the trees, but there's also some really negative impacts of climate change, and that mainly has to do with our weather. Now, you can't really tell today, but we have had a really dry and really warm winter. Usually, we get about 60 inches of rain, which is more than this, every year here in Northern California. But for the past few years, maybe even the last decade, we've only gotten about half of that water. So redwoods need a lot of water every day. They transpire or breathe about 500 gallons like this every day. That's a lot of water. So as it gets drier with less water, they're going to start to get really, really thirsty, especially as we get a lot of years of dry weather. So we're trying to figure out how we can help these trees and our whole earth to make sure that we have redwoods for future generations, my kids, your kids, everybody in the future. So Ranger Kyle, do you want to help us brainstorm some ideas of how we can help the redwoods and the earth?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about it. So we can do a lot of different things to reduce our impact or reduce how many fossil fuels we're burning, how much carbon we're committing to this atmosphere. A natural amount of carbon exists, just like Greg was saying, there's natural cycles that happen, but us as people are contributing so much that it's causing a problem for our planet and putting us in this current climate crisis. Now, I know you all are some pretty smart students. You all have probably been hearing for quite a while about this climate change kind of business or climate crisis, all these kinds of terms referring to this. And you all have probably heard some of the changes that you can make personally to be able to reduce your impact. I'm going to pop up our little chat window here. If any of you would like to comment what you've been told, some of the ways that some actions you might even be already taking to reduce your carbon footprint in the world. Maybe things like riding your bicycle or taking a bus instead of driving a car. Any of you heard of some of these things that you might like to pop into the chat? Or I can go on as always. So we'll think about things like maybe, riding our bike, like I said, or taking a bus. That's going to reduce the impact coming from your car. Eating less red meat is going to reduce the impact that agricultural businesses, farming, cows contribute a lot of carbon. So if we're eating less red meat, we're demanding less cows being raised for food. We might do things to be a little bit more energy efficient. Maybe we've got LED light bulbs in our house. Maybe we've talked to our parents about changing out some of those fixtures. So every action you do like that, riding your bike is going to take a little bit more carbon out of our atmosphere. Eating less red meat is going to take a little bit more carbon out of our atmosphere. Using those fancy light bulbs are going to take a little bit more carbon out of our atmosphere. And when you start to look at your community, to work together in your community, we've got Earth Day coming up this Friday. I'm sure there are tons of opportunities for you to volunteer or work with your community. And together, when we work together, we are able to make a bigger impact. We work with our community, we work with our parents, we talk with our friends about this, and even just by having a conversation, you're doing your part to help reduce the amount of carbon that we're sending into our atmosphere. So Earth Day coming up this Friday. I really encourage you all to get involved, check out your local community, talk to your parents. Again, just having conversations about these things can make a big difference, but getting involved with your community and helping out with community events, pulling invasive species, working to introduce things that require maybe businesses in your local community to be certified green businesses and monitor the imprint that they're having in their community. That's going to really make a huge difference in reducing the carbon that we're committing to the environment. And the good news is, the more we work together, the more we can make a big impact. To tell us a little bit more about how we can work together and maybe some of the other things that besides people that are helping to reduce this climate impact, I'm going to pass it back over to Greg.
Oh, thanks, Kyle. Yeah, Kyle's got some really good ideas and shared with them how we can reduce the amount of carbon going into the atmosphere. And one of the things that gives me a lot of hope as a park employee and an educator, and just as a human being who likes to live, there's a lot of really positive things that we can do as people and individuals when it comes to dealing with the climate crisis. And keep in mind that the climate crisis is mostly caused by human burning of fossil fuels. Humans are causing this, but humans can solve it. And redwoods have been living with climate changes for millions of years. They are strong, they are resilient, they stand together. And I think that's a good lesson for how humans can deal with this. And sometimes, honestly, I feel a little bit overwhelmed. It's just me trying to save the world, but then I look around and I got my friends here. I got my parents and family, and sometimes I just go for a walk in the woods and I know it's going to be okay because humans, we're smart enough, we can solve this. And here at Redwood National and State Park, we are doing something very, very cool that's been done nowhere else in the world, where we are trying to restore thousands and thousands and thousands of acres of forest that had been cut. And we're working on creating about 80,000 acres of old growth redwood forests for the future. And it's this really cool project called Redwoods Rising. And it started a couple of years ago, and it's going to be going on until I'm a very old man with a long gray beard. And this Redwoods Rising program is going to be around for a couple of human generations. But what it's going to do is we're going to double the amount of these big, amazing redwood trees that are here in Redwood National and State Park. We can make changes as individuals. We can make changes as groups, and in parks, people are making changes. And I bet you kids, when it comes to Earth Day, you could talk to your school, talk to your teachers, talk to a scientist, go online and learn about climate change solutions from a zoo or from an aquarium or from your closest national park or state park, wherever you are in the world. There are people full of ideas that you can support and learn about and have a chat with. Maybe even chat with mom and dad or your little annoying brother and sister about hope, because climate change is a very hopeful story. And when I think about how amazing these redwoods are, I know they stand together, they are strong, and they're awesome. And that's the type of student you are if you're watching this program right now. So I know we've got a lot of great hope and a lot of great possibilities to solve this climate crisis. And we can all do our part, because the redwood trees, they are doing theirs. And that's it from us three just for the moment. I'm going to toss the planet Earth ball back to you, Apruba. Let's see what we have on chat and hand it back to you there.
Yes, thank you. We are seeing some amazing questions coming through the chat. Keep them coming. But before we get to those, though, let's all take a selfie together and with the redwoods in the back. I'll give you about a minute to get set up. And while you do, make sure you share these photos with us on socials. Be sure to tag at Flipgrid and also tag our friends at Redwood NPS too. We love to see your pictures. All right, so I'll wait a couple more seconds. Let them get set up too. All right, we have everybody. Is everyone ready? Let's do it. The count of three, say tree. 3, 2, 1, tree. All right, I think we got it. That was awesome. Be sure to tag us when you post them using @RedwoodNPS and @Flipgrid. And with that, let's finally get to your questions. So from Mr. Jackson's third graders, how does climate change start there in Redwood National Park? How do trees hold a brighter future?
You want to take that?
I think, sure, I'll give that a try. Well, trees are one of the ways that the planet is absorbing excess carbon dioxide. And honestly, really simply, if we had more redwood trees, we would have less climate change crisis. So that's where I think restoration is very important here in the park to double the amount of old growth redwood trees we have. But it doesn't have to be a supersized redwood tree that's helping to absorb carbon. Planting trees in your own garden, supporting a state park or a county park, or helping your school plant some trees. It's simple, but it's really, really a positive thing that everybody can do, and it will make a difference.
Great question.
Following up on that, we have another question from Santiago in Arlington, Texas. What are some ways I can take care of trees here back at home?
That's a really good question. So Earth Day, do you want to take a title? I can also. I'm excited. So Earth Day is coming up, and that's going to be on Friday. And Earth Day is a great day to go out and plant trees. Now, do you guys remember how everything is being absorbed by trees? So redwoods are absorbing carbon, and all the plants are absorbing carbon. So if you guys have a chance, you can go out and plant native trees in your area, and those trees are going to continue absorbing carbon. And if you guys want to help support the parks, you can come and visit, but you can do really anything from wherever you are on the globe. You are helping with the climate crisis. So we're all working together.
Yes, I just wanted to add really quick, Allie mentioned native plants. Things that grow in areas where they belong is really important. So we talked a lot about how really cool redwoods are, but if you live somewhere where redwoods don't grow, it's not going to do us a lot of good to plant a whole ton of them if they're not going to be able to get big. So it's really important to learn what plants grow in your area and are native there, and those are great plants to be able to plant trees and things like that, and just encourage you to learn what grows there. You can even replace the lawns in your front yards with native plants that require less water. It's also a really great way to help out with this climate crisis.
Another great question. Wow, I'm so impressed by you guys.
Yeah, so we are getting so many amazing questions also about carbon sinks and sources. And this is amazing because today's Flipgrid topic of the day gives you a chance to reflect and respond to Greg's marble exercise. We'll show you how to find today's topic in just a moment, but Allie, before we do, can you let educators know what to expect if they use the topics on Redwood National and State Park's Discovery Library page?
So as you can see on the screen here, this is our Discovery Library, and we've been working hard to put a lot of amazing content on there. So we have content about banana slugs, salmon, and one of my favorite topics that we have comes from the Indigenous interpreters here in the park, where they talk about their culture. So we have a little bit of everything, so you're sure to find something that fits your classroom.
That's so amazing. I'll definitely be checking it out. Educators and parents, let me show you how to find the Flipgrid topic of the day so your learners can reflect on all they learned during today's live event. It's as easy as launching your browser and typing aka.ms/carbonsync. This will take you directly to today's topic of the day, carbon sinks and redwood trees. You'll see this YouTube video and a few discussion prompts that your students can use to reflect on and respond to. You'll also notice a small blue button that says Add Topic right there, and you can choose to add this topic to a group, create a new group, or save it for later. Think of a group as your classroom. And here is what your students will see as they begin to reflect on that topic and submit their own video responses to share their learning. And they can have fun using all the new creative effects and expressions inside the Flipgrid camera. If you haven't seen them yet, be sure to check them out. Remember, you can use this in your classroom immediately following today's event as a follow-up activity. We'll post that link in the chat for you to copy and paste. And now, it's time to get to more of your questions. So, Miss Heather's class is asking, what inspired you to be who you are today and follow this career?
How much time do you
Yeah.
have?
You want to take it?
I think we all have different reasons. Yeah. For me personally, I grew up spending a lot of time in nature, going camping. I really enjoyed that. And then I got a park job while I was in community college. I didn't think it was what I was going to do with my life, but I fell in love with it. I really enjoyed talking with people and getting to share the natural world, and then understanding too that not everybody has the same kind of access that I have. So it's been really enjoyable to get to share these really magical places with people. So thanks for giving me another opportunity to do that.
The hats are also a big perk. Greg, do you want to share? Greg has a pretty unique one.
Well, I grew up in a different country, and I was just attracted to the United States' big outdoors. And I might have been a little conservationist in my mind before I became a park ranger, but I enjoy working for the national parks. I enjoy the outdoors, and the people I work with, it's my tribe. So I found the things that I care about and the people I care about, and I'm sticking to it.
We have a lot of fun here at work, as you can tell.
Thank you so much for sharing your stories. We have another question, and it's, what is your favorite thing about redwood trees? Can you share a fun fact? And how long does it take for a redwood tree to grow? From Mrs. Cabrera's sixth graders.
Great questions. Okay, I'll take the redwood growth.
Okay.
There's so many fun things about redwood.
I think we should each share a fun fact. I bet we all
Okay,
have a different.
we'll go down the line.
I like
Go ahead. Fun
No,
fact?
go ahead.
Okay,
You
so
do the
redwoods grow-
facts first.
Redwoods grow. They grow up first really fast. So on average, redwoods are about 600 to 800 years old. So they grow up really fast. So some of the skinniest redwoods are actually the tallest. Then eventually they lose their tops from the wind. It's really natural. And then they start getting thicker with age. So some of our thickest trees are our oldest, and those can be 1,000 to 2,000 years old. So it takes a while for them to grow, but they grow really fast up. So the tallest tree in the world is actually pretty young. It's a couple hundred years old, maybe 500, 600 years old, which is very old, but it's pretty young compared to our other redwoods. You have a fun fact, Kyle?
I was just going to say one of my favorite things about redwood trees is that they're almost like fingerprints. The bark, the characteristics of each individual tree is so unique that if you have a tree you like, you can really tell it apart from any other tree in the forest. They develop these burls, these big lumps on the sides of them. They can have fire scars from fires coming through, snapped off tops from the wind. They can grow clones right out of the side of them. And so all of these different factors make them really, really unique. And that's one of my favorite things about redwood trees is just getting to know the individuals.
So cool.
What I love about the redwood trees is they're kind of fuzzy. And they're really tall.
Fuzzy.
And when you walk underneath a redwood tree and you look up, you only see about 1/3 of the tree. And it's like, okay, what is happening up in the top 2/3 of the tree? It's a mystery.
My favorite thing is the redwoods are kind of a penthouse for a lot of animals, and they just discovered that pretty recently. So they climbed the redwoods, scientists, and they figured out that there's all these amazing animals that live 200, 300 feet in the air, which includes salamanders, birds. There's a shrimp species or a relative of shrimp that actually lives in the canopy of redwoods. So they're a very cool, cool environmental,
Yeah.
tree.
If
Pretty
you
nice.
all are interested in learning more about our canopy and potentially getting to check it out for yourself, check out the Coast Redwood Canopy app that state parks and national parks have developed together, where we have scientists in the top of the trees with some 360 cameras. They'll talk to you about what they're finding, and you'll get to kind of explore the tree along with them. Augmented reality, the Coast Redwood Canopy app. Check it out.
Wow, that is so cool. And then just a quick question from me. How does it feel to hug a redwood tree, if we're allowed to hug them?
Are allowed to hug them for sure. We encourage it, actually. Yeah. I'd say my word is just amazing.
I'd say connected.
Love.
Gentle.
Aw, great. All right. Allie, Greg, and Kyle, I can't thank you enough for helping us better understand climate change with redwood trees. Are there any final thoughts you want to share with everyone watching? And Greg, why don't you get us started?
I just want to remind everybody that no matter where you are on the earth, whether you're in the continental US or outside of it, you are connected to redwood trees, and they are connected to you. So wherever you are, they are helping climate change, and you are helping climate change, and we're all working together to prevent the climate crisis. So stay hopeful, just as Greg said.
Yeah, I'd say just remember that this is a problem that we're seeing across the entire world. So while it may seem like us as an individual can't have a huge impact, this is something that, you know, the redwoods are on your team no matter where you live in the world, and the entire world is working together. So no matter where you're joining from, you've got people who are helping you out. Us here at Redwood are on your team, but you've got friends all around the world working together to combat this climate crisis.
Yep, nobody is alone in this crisis. There's lots of reasons for hope. Stand together, stand strong, be awesome like a redwood. You'll be okay.
You'll be
A wonderful message, especially with Earth Day coming up. Today has been so incredibly special. Thank you for spending the last half hour with us. And guess what? We have Flipgrid Live events every week. We have an incredible lineup and would love for you to join us as we learn together. You can head to aka.ms/Flipgrid Live events for more information and to register for upcoming events. And don't forget to check out the topic of the day. It's live now on the Redwood National and State Parks Discovery Library page. Have a wonderful, beautiful rest of your day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and happy Earth Day. Bye.